Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter, and welcome back to World of Tanks mini-series! Woo! This long overdue episode is all going to be about the Panzer 3 and another lesson little thing, but we'll get to that when we finish the review, because that's the main part of this series, I suppose. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So, the Panzer 3. This tank was used in the earlier years of the Second World War. She saw action in Poland, France, Greece, not Italy, that was 43, Africa, and also early parts of Barbarossa, and also in... Well, technically speaking, this tank served... Well, the chassis at least served throughout the war, but the actual tank itself was produced from 39 to 43. Now, originally, her role was meant to be the main tank, the main battle tank for Germany at one point. She would go in, obliterate the enemy tanks, and then leave the Panzer IVs, which at that point were meant to support infantry, to clean up. But as the war progressed and Germany decided to go against Russia, don't know why, they discovered that the gun for this vehicle was just not quite as good as the Panzer IV's gun once they gave it a high velocity. The turret ring on the Panzer IV was better suited for the 75mm high vol gun, which meant that this tank actually became what it was wanting to... It ironically became what its counterpart began to begin with. So then, after a while, this thing was given a 75 stubby, as I call it, which would then provide cover for the infantry during assaults. And then eventually, after she became pretty much obsolete, she then was the top half of this tank was replaced with, if you guys out there know your stuff, yes, the Stug. She was then given the Stug, which had like the 105, the L48 gun, and served the rest of the war, which was kind of cool. But anyway, that's enough historical blabbering. Let's actually get to the hit points. So, hit points. 350. That's actually quite good. It's not an amazing amount of difference between your predecessor, only about 110, but any improvement's good, right? Let's go on to the tank tech tree to sort of do a little comparison to see who's as good as you, or better/worse. M5A1 light tank. What does that one have? 350. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't say it on the stats, I know, but that's because this tank I haven't bought and isn't in my garage. If you buy tanks and you have them in your garage and you've given them the shit that they need, that's when they show the updated stats. But at the moment, that's pretty much on that one. And it won't really show when you've upgraded it. That would be kind of cool if someone did that. Just saying. The B1... Oh, because it's a heavy tank, you know it's going to be better than yours. There you go. 380. That's just off the beat. You can actually upgrade that as well. Your AMX-40, we all know what this one is. I don't know why I can remember this one out of all. 300 hit points, which isn't saying much. But yeah, 300 hit points. It's shit. The Panzer 38 NA, which goes up to 340 hit points. That's quite an interesting one, but that said, it is a light tank, so it's not going to have as much health as you. Your VK-2001D has the same 350 hit points, so that's something at least. Snip down to the Convenator. Now, obviously, because she's a lighter tank, she isn't going to have as much hit points. And once again, actually, no, she actually has the same amount of hit points, 350, which is intriguing. Or 340. I can never remember if it's 340. It's one of those confusing things, but whatever. The Matilda actually has, let's have a look, see, is better than you. 340 off the beat, but it goes up to 370, which is pretty awesome. You can't deny. The Matilda tank is an awesome tank. The Valentine goes up to 350, if I'm not mistaken. So it could possibly be the same for the Convenator. I don't know. I'm really bad with that sort of thing. I don't know why. The M5 Stuart follows in the same line of hit points, so I might be wrong. Actually, it might be less. That might be 330, or 340 if I'm not mistaken. It's annoying, but whatever. The M3 Lee, you actually can tell off the beat what its health is because 310. This thing suffers from what I call Leeism. Basically, you only have one turret, you can't upgrade it, which in a sense is helpful because you don't have to worry about getting a better turret to get the better gun, but at the same time, it means you'll never be able to upgrade its health. That can suck really and bad at times. So yeah, just a little warning out there. And we've got the Russians, which have crap ton of tanks. The T-80 that actually suffers from Leeism has the same 350 hit points. The A-20, what does she have? She has 310, so she'll head up to 350. Now I can't really say much about the T-50 because I have rarely seen a T-50 in a Tier 4 match. This thing is pretty much the thing that gets scout matchmaking, as does the A-20, but you see more A-20s in a Tier 4 match than you do in a Tier 5 match with a T-50. Your T-28, however, on the other hand, you meet a fair amount of times. He has 350. I know this because I love this machine, and as much as she is a shed with a gun, she's a nice shed with a gun. I don't know why, but she's a nice tank. I like her. So, yeah, you're actually kind of pretty much either on par or actually better than most of these tanks. It's there isn't any major definable differences, which can be quite helpful. Can be quite helpful indeed. Moving on down to weight and speed. You weigh, without any equipment on, 19.81 tons. Moving on to weight and speed, you weigh 19.81 tons. That's without any kind of equipment. And you have a maximum weight load limit of 22.65 tons. Now, in combination with your 440 horsepower engine, you gain a nice 22.21 horsepower per ton. Or in English, you get a good speed limit of 64 kilometers per hour. Now, I will mind you, though, as much as this sounds nice, it's not something which throws itself at that speed. Like, you don't get, because of this weight, it means that this thing will take some time to get to that speed. She can get to it, and as well, you can most certainly do it while going downhill. If you're on a straight line, it's going to take you a few minutes. It's going to take you a bit of a while. In actual fact, historically speaking, she didn't even go at this speed. She went actually at 20 miles per hour, which is only 40 kilometers. But, well, hey, we're playing... This is World of Tanks, not so aimed at historical accuracy. Anyway, so, yeah, yeah, she can get to a decent speed. And her traverse speed of 45 degrees does help a fair amount when it comes to turning and getting out of dodge. But when it comes to her 64... you get to, like, what, 50 roughly? Like, when you put it on, when you've been going for a while, you can reach up to 50, 55, then eventually you'll hit 60, but roughly around the 55 region, which, pardon me, actually does, you know, does get you somewhere. And she's not a slow tank by any means, but yeah, that's roughly where you mostly will find yourself at. Now onto armor. Yeah, I would say this is probably one of the bigger weaknesses of this tank, its armor. You've got 70 at the front, which isn't bad, but 30 to the sides and 50 to the rear. The rear, for some reason, has more protection than the obvious weakness of sides. And there's not even a shield to try and help you. Damn it! No. And it's not really that much of an improvement for your turret either. It's 57 to the front, 30 to the sides and rear. This thing doesn't like to be shot at, and I wouldn't recommend utilizing that 70, because as much as it's the same frontal armor as, say, the Matilda, if we go down to check out the Matilda. Matilda, where are you? There she is. Matilda, what's your frontal armor? It is... oh, actually, so 75, so it's actually better. Okay, bad example. The front of the AMX-40, that has 70 hull armor. Yes, you have 70 hull armor. So if you've seen the AMX-40 and you think, oh, that sounds a good idea, note that the AMX-40 actually has pretty... what's that? Angled. There you go, angled. Which means... and you're not. No, you've got an immensely flat armor, which means most guns will go through you. Luckily, you won't have much problems from the... well... you won't have much problems from Panzer threes, but don't have to worry about that for a moment. But no, you just no, your armor isn't that good, and especially for your side. I mean, if you have to, if I have to point out weaknesses, well, if you ever look at the front, you can spot, well, pretty much nearly all four of them pretty instantly. Obviously, the big one, well, the two big ones, the Commander's Cupola, which sticks out like a sore thumb in the middle of winter. You've also got the under compartment here, because if I'm not mistaken, as this is the Stugs chassis, undeniably, if you shoot down here, you'll undoubtedly knock the engine out there, or potentially set fire to it or anything. This is the one chassis I know that sets fire most predictably. Is this chassis here? If I shoot down here, I have a knowledgeable fact that I'll either knock out the engine or set it on fire. That's a bad thing in a tank's design. It happens to a lot of vehicles, but this chassis is the easiest to do that. You've also got your Radio Man's hull gun here, a coax hull-mounted gun there. You've also got your driver's bit there, but of course this is also a big weakness. Obviously, humongous sidle part, and it's actually less armored. So if you are a tier 3 tank or a tier 2 tank, just go for the sides. Hell, the flak gun on the Panzer II would go through that with no problems. So yeah, be aware. Be very aware. This thing is not built for slugfests, and you gotta remember that as much as humanly possible, because otherwise you gon' die. You gon' die real quick. Moving on, in keeping with your fast speed limit and your fast traverse speed, your turret traverse speed is nearly the same as your hull traverse, being at 44 degrees, which means any of you guys out there like the flanking tactic, this thing can most certainly do that for you, which is pretty awesome. I do like that in vehicles. I am starting to become more of a flanking medium. Like, I recently, off topic for a second, got the Comet, and that thing is an absolute dream. So if I might try and see if I can see whether the tactics are applied to the same, because I used to play mediums a hell of a lot, especially when back in tier 6 when the VK3601H was a medium. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, this thing in medium tactics, you can most certainly do a fairly good job in swinging around the side of an enemy tank with the turret and being able to knock him out, knock him 1 for 6, which is pretty cool. Now, view range. Your view range is not as good as 330. You're on par with the KV-1S, if that is any consolation to you. But let's go compare it to the others. Now, on this one, I'm going to kind of have to apply a special kind of rule. And that is, for certain light vehicles, I'm not going to count them, because as they are scouts, they technically beat you nearly automatically. For example, the AM5A1 has 350, but it is a scout, so really, I don't know whether that will count. So what I will do is I'll just count heavy vehicles and the AMX40, because it's not that. Well, actually, it is better than you, 340. So that's embarrassing. What about the B1? Is the B1 better than you? No, it's 330. So on that one. But for scout vehicles that get scout matchmaking, it's kind of pointless to ask, because if we have one look, we'll have a look here to be a fair example. 370. So it is just completely pointless. But we are going to compare the VK 2001D. Does it have the same? It does. Practically the same turret. So yeah. If we go over to Britain with its Convenator, what does that have? That has 340, which is better than you. The Matilda, what does she have? She has 340 as well. What about the Valentine? The Valentine, she has 340 as well. So they're as good as you. The American M3 Lee, how does she do? She's actually worse than you. That's the thing about Leeism. You can't upgrade the view range either. How about the Russian T-80? I'm not actually seeing this in battle much. 330, so that's quite good. Well, it's the same as you. The A20, that does get scout matchmaking, but that actually has 330, so keep your eyes peeled on that one. Not going to count the T50. And the T28, what does it have? It has 340. So, unfortunately, you are pretty much on the you're on the back foot with this vehicle. You're not as bad as the Americans or the not even the French better than you. You're not as bad as the Americans, but you're not exactly up there in the leagues of yeah, I can see way further than you kind of thing, which can be quite a big pain in the arse if you are wanting to be a sort of scouting kind of person with the luxury of a little bit more armor than your average light tank. However, this is redeemed by one thing which I've mentioned before in other videos, and I'm trying to keep it stum, but whenever I see it, I just leap for joy. Do you know what that is, guys? If you haven't spotted it by now, I don't blame you, because it's not something we all actively think about, but it is the radio. It is something which I have grown so much in love with that I actually haven't needed to research a radio in Germany for about over a year now. That is the Fug 12. Bam! This is the radio. Actually, no. Yeah, well, fuck it. I've already shown you. Yes, this is the radio Fug 12. It can be unlocked in the Panzer 3, and it serves itself all the way through these tanks. You've got the Panzerkampfwagen 4, Hummel, Tiger, Panzer, Baby Tiger, Heavy, Jagdpanzer, VK, Aston Martin, Tiger 2, or Königstiger, Grill. Everything. Everything. You know, I'll find you another way of describing it, right? Okay, I've just unlocked it for this vehicle. Do I have to worry about the next vehicle? Right, we'll go to the research tree. I've just unlocked that. Do I need to research it for this next vehicle? Nope. Nope. And technically speaking, I went up this line, so I researched it there. Was that good there? What about this vehicle? Nope, don't need to worry about it. Nope, don't need to worry about it. Nope, don't need to worry about it. Nope, still don't need to worry about it. Oh, I already have it unlocked. How awesome is that? In fact, let's go to the Jagdtiger. Oh, I already have the Fug 12 for the Jagdtiger? That's fantastic. What about the... Where is it? Waffle... Where's that? Ah, they get a specialized one. That's because they're new. What about... That one has the same as that one. Let's have a look-see. E50, what do you get? You get the Fug 12. What about... That said, the Leopard PTA is slightly different, so it might have a different radio. Yeah, that's because it's been westernized. Yeah, I mean, it has... I think the VK, the duck tank. Practically nearly all German vehicles after Tier 4 for this vehicle here get that radio. What about the DW2? The DW2 gets that radio. I mean, you know, there are some tanks. The Panzer 38 NA doesn't get that radio, but we'll go on to what radio range that has. It's really useful, and I really like this radio for it. When you get this radio, it saves your life. You know, it really does. It's a fantastic thing. And it actually beats a fair amount of your competition. Let's have a little look-see on the tech tree. Right? A little bit of pride is coming out here now. The M5A1 Stuart, you can see it gets a Tier 9 radio, but what does it get? Oh, it beats the Tier 9 radio for China. Oh, okay. What about the French? The B1. What does that get? If you let me get into it, that gets a Tier 9 radio. What does it get? 710. You're on par with the B1. That's pretty handy. What about the AMX40? Nope. Only has a Tier 5 radio, which only goes up to 360. What about your German scouting tier? How much signal does that get? 550. The Panzer 38 NA gets scout matchmaking, and it has a worse radio than you. The Combinator, what does he get? He has a Tier 8 radio. What does that mean? Means it's not as good as you. 550. What about the Matilda? Surely. Nope. Tier 7. Worse off. 450. What about the Valentine? Nope. Worse off. 19 Mark II. Once again. 450. What about the Americans with their famous M5 Stuart? Tier 9 radio? 615. What about the M3 Lee? That gets a Tier 9 radio. Still 615. Oh dear. What about... Ooh, what about the T80? What does that get? Oh, only a Tier 8 radio. Damn. 525. What about the 820? That gets a Tier 9 radio. 615. What about... Hell, even the freaking T50. 630. That gets beaten by it. T28. Only a Tier 5 radio. I mean... There you go. I mean, okay, this isn't the thing which will give you the big, yes, advantage, but it's a fantastic radio system for this tank. That's one of the reasons why I loved the German nation in this game. It's just got the best damn radio, and it gets it so early on that you never have to worry about getting it again, you know? Yes, you may have to spend a little bit more time grinding on this tank, but I say it's worth it. And it's a fantastic piece of equipment. It doesn't save everything, but think about it. Say you're platooned up with a few of your mates. One of you guys really know what you're doing. You all guys have been training together, and you need a tank which works well, which communicates efficiently. Get yourself a Panzer III, because it has an amazing radio. You know? Don't get the DW2 because it doesn't go very fast. But, you know, this one, fantastic. You know, I love it. That's what okay, I'll try and subdue my love for this thing because clearly this sounds a bit biased. But I'm saying it's amazingly handy for the fact that you can buy it, research it once, and you don't have to worry about getting yourself a better radio until you're hitting either Tier 8, right? For Tier 8? Yeah, Tier 8 for Germany for this line, or Tier 10 for Germany this line. Maybe the Jagd, the Waffle, Panzer, whatever. But generally speaking, its longevity, or if that makes any sense, its ability to last is pretty much fantastic. I've been on a bit of a rant here, but this is kind of dedicated. I really thought to hit this point home because it is amazingly efficient how awesome that is. Just saying. Anyway, I digressed severely on that one. I do apologise, but I do love this radio. So, yeah, very useful piece of equipment. Only costs, what, research-wise, 7,000 experience. And I say that's well worth it. Very much well worth it. Now, on to weapons. Now, the Panzer III doesn't really have a very good selection of weapons. If we go into the research tree, there it is. Now, this is the kind of part where getting previous stuff actually helps out a lot more than you think. If you've driven the Panzer III Ostife and elited it, then good job, because even though it doesn't require you to get it, I would highly recommend you get this gun. Otherwise, just use this gun. It's not great, and you will be very disadvantaged in it, but you will still have a better chance. Do not bother using this. Do not. A 20mm flak 38 won't save you here. Doesn't matter that it's got 2 dashes on it. It doesn't matter that you've got a high rate of fire. It won't work, right? The flak 38. Let's have a little look at the penetration value. Just the penetration value alone will tell you how much you don't need this. You're in Tier 3, and the premium shell is the only thing, you know, the premium, right? It's a premium. 51, right? 51. The standard shell of the first one, 40. Yes, it's 11 under, but at least you can pen some. And if you had to use premium, you have that. 74, which is a much better choice. You've got a much better accuracy, much better aiming time, and you get shit tons of rounds out. So, much better in my opinion. But, if you were a smart man and got the L42, you will have a decent advantage already. 50mm worth of shot, 24 shots rate of fire, 60 penetration on average, 96, and yeah, it's the same gun from the Panzer 38 NA, 33A, and yeah, it's pretty good. Now, what I recommend you guys don't do, for the love of God don't do, is go for that. I know you have to research it, but what I would recommend is you stick with this gun and then research that gun. You get that gun, then you research that gun, then you don't buy it. Right? You don't. You leave it alone. You don't even think about it, really. Don't even think about it. Reasons why. I'm going to have to buy this as well, just a point. Right? Right? You ready for this? Blammo. Now that's not being at a screwed angle. Let's make the angle fair. Let's go top down. The more, I suppose the best thing to say is those who heard me earlier talking about a stubby. This is what I mean by stubby. This basically was the secondary role that the German Panzer III had. You know? It's like, hey, let's go assault a bunker. We need some armoured support. Well, let's get this thing. Because it's high vol... It's not high vol. Yes, high vol. That's high velocity. No, it's 75 howitzer is the only thing that's the only 75 you'll ever get on this thing, and it is a terrible choice for a 75. Now, stats-wise, I'll also show you. Bam. Right? Okay. You have 75mm worth of caliber, yes. You do get 110 damage, but, first of all, 43 accuracy... 43 penetration. Dear God. 0.55 accuracy. Oh dear God indeed. And a 2.3 aiming time. That's a terrible gun. It is absolutely terrible. However, if we look at the L60, do a little comparison. Yes, this thing does beat it in the sense of caliber, but you have a 24 rounds versus that. That's pretty... Oh, that's nearly double, right? Nearly double. You have much better penetration off the standard shell, 67, whereas it beats your 43. You have, okay, less damage, but let's face it, your rate of fire and penetration make up for that. Your accuracy is much better, and the only thing that's the same is you have a 2.3 second aiming time. And in fact, it's lighter, which means that your tank will be able to move just that little bit faster. Yeah, so this is the reason why you need this gun. Never, ever use that. I made the mistake, and it's a very easy mistake to make if you're not that experienced, of assuming the caliber size does the job for you. It does not. This gun is pretty much the best gun you can find on this vehicle. And unfortunately, it's not even that good, if we keep at it, actually. You know, it's 67 pen. You do get a nice premium selection. In fact, I might just change the ammunition types whilst I'm talking. You get a nice premium selection, and yes, it's £2,000 per shell, which is not great, don't get me wrong. It's not something I recommend you use a lot of, because you'll waste money. But, you know, if you have to, if you're in a tier 5 or, God forbid, tier 6 match, at least you can say, I can survive, I can do damage, I can at least make something of myself in this game. Whereas with the other gun, no. No, you can't. You actually have... It is an absolute disaster with this gun. You know, I don't know why. I think they mount it, or they have it in-game, just to catch you out, you know. For those of you can... If there was ever anything I could stick a label to, whenever you see this, you should just put a little label, for those who don't know World War II, click on this. Because literally, people will not know what that is. They'll just see what the caliber is, they'll see some fancy pants German lyrics, and then they'll mount the gun, and they'll think it's awesome because it's smaller. They'll think, oh, it's going to be powerful, and it's going to kick ass and take names, and then in their first game, they'll rage quit because they pinged off the side of a Valentine AT, or a Panzer 1C. Yes, you can derp a bit, I suppose, if you go up against tier 1s. But apart from that, you can't. It's just a terrible thing. So definitely avoid that gun, get the L60, keep the L60, and then just grind the rest of the tank out when you can. And obviously, as always, tracks, turret, gun. You know, always the way. But yeah, so it's a major pain in the arse. And unfortunately... You know, it's a pain because it's like, it's not as good, and when you go up against other tanks, some tanks have, you know, the M3 Lee gets a better gun than you. You know, it's a bit of a shame, but, you know, that said, she does well. You know, it's not perfect, but she does the job kind of thing. And so, let's get to the last half of this review. First of all, we'll do equipment, then we'll talk about the crew skills. So, equipment, naturally, get yourself an improved ventilation class 2. This basically adds crew skills to your tank, ergo making it perform better. Also, get a medium caliber gun rammer. Why? Because why not? It's the second most important thing, and to speed up any kind of reload is a good idea. Now, the third is always, as of course, your choice, but here are my highest recommendations. Obviously, an enhanced gun laying drive is naturally a good idea, simply because of that 2.3 aiming time. That is quite bad at tier 3. Tier 4. So to be able to reduce that is a good idea in any book. So that'll be my number one require. That'll be my number one. Yeah, definitely do that. And number two, if you're not too far, if you're one of those kind of guys who wants to flank around and see what's going on, it's not a bad idea to get some coated optics. I mean, your view range isn't so good, so to be able to help you out with that sort of thing, most certainly a good idea. I wouldn't recommend you go for a binocular telescope because the problem is, as I said, it's up to you. But the thing is, this thing isn't really designed to stand still. It's more of a get in and out before anyone noticed it sort of thing. So a binocular telescope would state that you had a bigger gun, and obviously you don't really have the firepower to match that kind of power of that view range, so that's kind of pointless. My third option would be either additional grousers or enhanced torsion. The additional grousers, any kind of performance enhancement is not a bad idea if you should so wish to use this as one of those fast scouters with the ability to radio in stuff. That kind of just helps performance on ground and all that. Or enhanced torsion bars, there we go, which basically adds durability to the suspension by 20%, adds 10% to suspension load capacity, and also it does 50% minus hull damage caused by basically it reduces damage by 50% when when you jump and stuff. Like if you jump a little bit too high and you knock your tracks out, it won't do as much damage basically. Don't really need to worry about Sporeliner because you're a relatively fast tank, and to be caught by artillery means you're doing it wrong. Wet ammo rack, never really had a problem with ammo racking. Normally because you die before you even have to worry about it, but generally speaking you don't have to worry about spending money on that. So to sum up, enhanced gun laying drive number 1, second recommendation coated optics, and third recommendation either additional grousers or Torsen T3 class. Now on to crew skills. Your commander. Now I would highly recommend you give your commander something like either repairs, and then once he hits 100%, swap it out for Sixth Sense, or you can get something like Mentor, which basically provides additional experience to all members of the crew except the commander. Now this is also a skill, so you don't have to worry about making it to 100%. Now the only reason why I would say it's a good idea, but then at the same time it can be a bad idea, is that if you swap this out for something like Sixth Sense, all of a sudden you'll notice the difference in lack of how fast your crew are going. So if you are going to go down this line, I would highly recommend you wait until that hits 100%, then just start repairs. Otherwise it's kind of going to be a major pain. Or probably what would be a better idea is repairs, Sixth Sense, then Mentor. But either way, if you really want your crew to rank up faster, then by all means. After you've done that and that, probably recon as well, or firefighting, doesn't matter, but that's the most important for that one. Your gunner. Naturally, I would tell him to get Snapshot because it improves accuracy during turret rotation, and as I said beforehand, any kind of ability to reduce the aiming time on that is a good idea regardless. So get a Snapshot, then go up to the top, get repairs, and once it hits 100%, get Deadeye. This basically increases the chance for you to do damage to an enemy's tank's modules or crew, so a very good idea indeed. After which, go back up to repairs and then replace it for designated target. This basically means that the enemy vehicle that you've spotted will remain visible for an extra 2 seconds. That is immensely handy. Going down to the driver, naturally I would state that you need to get some clutch braking on. Once that hits 100%, either go for off-road driving or smooth ride, depending on what you wish, or if you want to have something cool, go to repairs, make it 100%, drop it, and then replace it with preventative maintenance. This basically reduces the chance of the engine catching fire. Now, although I said you don't need to worry about I think I'll be going on to the loaders, but still, I think you can get something like what was it? An automatic? Oh, well, either way. Basically, a skill which helps you reduce the chance of a fire is always a good idea. If you're not that fussed about not having a fire, then off-road driving and smooth ride will probably be having is probably your better option. Perhaps smooth ride probably your best option because you're going relatively fast, and then afterwards you can go for off-road driving should you so wish. Your radio operator. Now he's actually I'm gonna tell him to train in another skill. Situational awareness. This actually naturally extends your view range. This one, because then without having to worry about stuff, and once that is done, then get repairs on it, because any kind of repairs does help a lot, sort of thing. And then once you've got that, either get don't really need to worry about extending your signal range because you've already got that much of a good one. Maybe what you can do afterwards is, once you hit 100% on repairs, perhaps swap out, I don't know, go to make firefighting, train that up to 100%, then swap it out, or swap repairs out for Call for Vengeance, then go to repairs again, sort of thing. Just kind of having like that, and then afterwards it's up to you, because there isn't really that much of a useful skill. And then finally, let's go to the loader. Now, the loader, you want to have repairs off instantly, then swap it out for safe stowage. This is the thing I was talking about. Basically, this reduces the chance of your vehicle getting ammo racked and exploding, or ammo racked entirely. I haven't, as I said before, I haven't actually had that much of a problem with ammo racking, but to not have to worry about, or to have an extra case of protection is probably a good idea regardless. So that's something which is quite important to think about. But yeah, after that, once you've got that sorted, either intuition when it comes to fighting, or adrenaline rush, but generally speaking, safe stowage is the big one. Then afterwards, either firefighting, camouflage, or whatever's. So, with that review now done and out of the way, we'll do a summary as well once we've done the other battles, but still. So, now with that review done, let's talk about today's lesson. Know your tank, know your tactics. Now, I say this because a fair amount of you guys out there, of whom I've seen, I'm not saying the subscriber base is there, or for anyone who's watching this I've seen out there. I might have done. This is a small world after all. A fair amount of people kind of base their tactics a little bit too quickly than, well, I would say a poor player doesn't really apply tactics correctly. And when I say that, I basically mean some tanks, despite being in the same class of tier, or same kind of class of tank, always seem to apply the same tactics. It's like, if you've been driving a medium tank for a while, say you drive this tank for a while, and you're like, actually no, a better choice would be the British one. Say you drive a tank like this for a while, and it's very good at flanking. In fact, better on the Cromwell. And it's very good at flanking. You're so good, you know, like, yeah, I know what the tactics this is. And then all of a sudden you apply it to, say, a tank. I would say if we can go back in time, I would say go back in time and say apply it to the VK3000 and VK3601H when it was a medium tank. That style of tank is very, very different than, say, the tank of nowadays, you know? Or the VK3002DB with an upgraded turret. You know, this thing can't really flank now. This thing can't really support tanks in a mess on charge. If I go in, I can do it with this vehicle, but it's not very suited. I can only do it with this vehicle because I got that turret. But if I got the upgraded turret, I would be restricted to provide long-range sniper action, of which this thing can do very well because it's got the L70 gun. Whereas with other tanks you can flank, you know, other tanks, for example, like, a better example actually, probably make more sense, is Koenigsegger, or Tiger Tank. Because beforehand, you know, in other aspects, you can drive this tank, and you have to be extremely careful on angling, because it's completely fat. So angling becomes an essential thing. You know, it becomes the thing. You know, the only way you survive most forms of battles is probably by doing that. And then you move on to something like the Tiger 2 or even this. And then all of a sudden, you've got to change the tactics once again. Because whilst this tank is all about staying further back from the bad guys and avoiding conflict, because even if you do angle it, you still have a high likelihood of being shot and penned. This tank is actually designed for corner hugging. This thing, you go round a corner and you're in its natural environment, it actually really likes using that cornering ability. You can use its angling like you've learnt on the Tiger, but you can use it so you can go around corners, blast your opponents to smithereens. You know, that sort of thing. And I'll be honest with you, I still don't know a fair amount of tactics. I'm not that... When it comes to certain vehicles, I'm quite shit in them. I mean, I'm recently rediscovering my capabilities as a British Commonwealth, or as a medium tank driver because of this vehicle. I don't know why, I'm really liking this vehicle. I might have said it a couple of times, but still. So I'm still learning as much as anyone. But what I do is I have to always have a fresh mind on myself. I always say, as I always say, know your tank, know your tactics. Sometimes tactics work for one and doesn't work for the other. So whenever you go out there, guys, whether you drive a tank destroyer, a heavy tank, a medium tank, or even a simple light tank. I don't have one in Germany. Damn. Even a simple, I was going to go there. Even a simple light tank has its own style of tactics, which help out, which eventually, which will assist you in victory. But obviously, you have to remember which one is which. And when you go from vehicle to vehicle, you've always just got to keep that in mind. You know, what am I driving? Am I driving a E75, which works better on corners, and its gun, which can do very well at long distance, pretty much is better suited to close range engagements? Or are you driving a VK3002D, which has absolutely crap armor despite it being angled, but your L70 gun can do a fair amount of damage in medium to long range engagements with the flanks of your opponents? You know, and also it does depend, of course, on what tier you're at. If you're in a lower tier, don't go aggressive. Always play cautiously. If you are higher tier, don't go aggressive all the time, but you can be a little bit more relaxed about how best you do certain things. So, with all that said, let's actually get into the field of battle. I'll see you there, guys. And we're back, and unfortunately, we're not in the best of tiering, but that said, it's not terrible. Touchwood. Right. I mean, obviously the crew that I've got is not at 100%, so the tank's performance may not be as, like, completely perfect as everything else, but hopefully you can see what kind of potential stuff out there that is for this thing. Right, unfortunately, we're one of the only few vehicles going into the actual town. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be a Brave Sod because this thing is not the Brave Sod's vehicle. However, we do have a Lehman Russ on standby. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to park myself a little bit into the bushes here. Just try. The thing is, they haven't got anything which actually there is a couple of things that could potentially one-shot me. The M4, which could have a derp gun. Right, let's take a little bit more caution here. The first person, look around, go back out first person. It's always a good idea to go into first person when you're not really quite sure what's going on. Right, there is a KV-1. He knows he can beat me. Ah, of course, there you go, T-34, waiting for me to trap. I'm actually very fortunate. Is he looking at me? No, he's not. Yes, he is. Oh, shit, he had a derp gun. See what I mean? I could have been derped in one go. I'm very fortunate in the fact that he took off the tread. So there is a KV-1, and I'm like, right, sod you, I'm out of here. So I'm just going to try and avoid that now. I'm trying to get a little bit close up. I know, technically speaking, I'm doing a bad idea, but hopefully I can keep him in view range. Because we have artillery. Whoa. Not looking good. There is a T-34 coming up against our Lehman Russ, but I don't think he needs that much support. I need to be a little bit more aware, though, of where that KV-1 is, because obviously the KV-1 is a bit of a bigger threat in my eye. Don't know if you guys agree, but... Okay, so the KV-1 still hasn't been sighted. I want to help out my friend, but that said, he is only facing a T-34, and for some reason the T-34 is firing heat shells. Unless someone is firing, unless an AMX-40 is firing. Oh, I had a shot. I don't have a shot. Kind of be cool if I could move in and make a little ledgy, but I don't exactly want to go, hey, there's a shot, and then I get derped by the KV-1. Ooh, ooh. No, there's the KV-1. Right, the KV-1 has moved up. There is the Cruiser 2, and they are now starting to pile on the heat here. So what I will do is I will try and see if I can get a flanking. If I can get a flanking shot on that enemy. Okay. Right. Let's make the enemy tank have a pain in the arse one. Right. Let's try and go for the turret. Always go for the turret if you can. Fuck. We lost the KV. Oh, we lost our aim. Right. One more shot. Right. Pull out. And unfortunately, he's raging, as all players do. Right, so the KV-1 has just turned around. The KV-1 was never really known for its good maneuverability anyway, so we have the advantage in that. I'm not going to be able to do as much as I could hope to have done, but we are facing off against lighter tiered vehicles now. My armor isn't fantastic, so the D2 is probably going to be the worst. I have just rammed an enemy tank to death. Right, movement. Should bang! He is now gone. Fantastic. Right, we are getting support from a Stug player now, and the game is not going to our favour, regretfully. Now I have to be extremely careful with my shots because I am firing 2,000 credits per shot, but my normal AP shells do not have the capabilities to. Right, there's the KV-1. Is he aiming? Is he aiming? Yes, he is. He's going to get me. Ooh! I am a lucky son of a bitch. Unfortunately, my engine says otherwise. He has him by the hip, and the KV-1 is now going to try and go for him, which means I need to get into position. He does derp the KV. He does derp him, but hopefully I'll have enough reload to kill him. Oh, one more. Bang! There you go. The enemy KV-1 has been obliterated. Unfortunately, our Stug friend did pay the ultimate price, and the likelihood is we're not going to be able to win this match. But that said, we have done a fairly good job. Unfortunately, no one really came off to support us, but we do have a Marder 38T. I am kind of wandering blissfully and unawares to my own doom, probably. But we are turning it around slowly. The M3 Lee's over there. Ah! Oh my god, this is a miracle. Right. Ricochet. Of course it would be. Bang. Yeah, this thing is terrible. Right, one more shot. Nope. Okay, never mind. We'll just nip off there. Okay, we have just lost our last few tanks. We also have Panzer Sliffle. There's their SU-5. She's probably aiming at me. Right. You know, at a relatively low speed, this thing actually is very accurate whilst firing on the move. Right, we need to get a little bit of a shot in, because obviously the enemy tanks now, they have a Stug, they've got a T-40. Luckily, their most armoured vehicle, this is a bit of a bad idea, I realise that. But if we can perhaps just about get into position. I'm actually doing relatively well in this vehicle. Unless that's them. What do we have? We have only got that one. I'm not exactly keen on it. Oh shit, no, the Stug is greedy for a kill, so this is actually kind of a good thing, because we're facing off against, what, tier 4s now, and if we can knock out the tier 4s, if our artillery can pay attention long enough, and the enemy team are actually going to try and go for it, they're all actually going for the kill, whereas they could have had a much better chance. I don't know, actually. Unfortunately, our artillery will... If our artillery can knock out the Stug, we have a... Yes! Good job! Good job, Artie. Fantastic. If we can knock out the T-40, I'll try and go one side, and my ally can go another. I don't have to actually have to worry about getting stuff, but well done, artillery. Unfortunately, we couldn't be around to save him, and if I had a much better engine, I would have definitely done something. But that said, this vehicle did just survive a derp. So, rarity in that. Right, the T-40's there, hopefully. Yes, good job. So, right, I want to be extremely careful. Keep my eyes peeled. If I get caught out, I probably am going to get caught out. The M3 Lee, I think the M3 Lee player knows what he's doing, so kudos to the enemy team regardless of who wins. But that said, this was a tight game. Ironically enough, this is probably how fast this vehicle would have been back in the Second World War. Right, don't think he's around here somewhere. I think he's either hiding around here somewhere. That's the disadvantage of this view range probably coming into effect right about now. Probably not a major disadvantage, but big enough. Oh, no, we've got him cornered. Can I track him? Nope. He can get me. Right, try and arm and angle this thing. Don't forget, he's got a much better gun than I have, but I am keeping him open for my Marder 38T friend. He knows that there is a Marder 38T coming for him. My gun is failing me at the moment. He actually goes to go for him, but he has made a mistake, leaving himself open. But there you go. There's the problem with the Lee. And he's gone. Good game. That was a fantastically close game. That is fantastic. Damn. Wow. That was actually quite close. Oh, wow. I haven't not had that much kind of fun before in this kind of thing. But yeah. Hells yeah. Tier 5 game, everyone. We actually knocked out a KV-1. What do we do to the DW2? I actually knocked out that thing's engine, so mental note, kind of the same chassis, go for the engine. The Su-5, I knock out the enemy tank's track, and I ram the bastard to death in the cruiser too. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Awesome sauce. Lovely. Right, so I'll see you guys in the next battle. And we're back, and we are on my least favourite map. So I probably won't be able to do as much as I would like to do. I've just realised I probably should have spent more time changing the caliber of my shells rather than anything else. But whatever, we are going to do what we can. This actually is a good map for the Panzer flak bus, but still need to get used to the fact that I have bugger F all armor. Our Churchill is AFK at the moment. Whee! Damn it. Bollocks. Yeah, that's something you got to be careful about. Another little tip, don't be me. Don't think it's fun. Yeah, think. Don't jump in a Panzer III. Imagine that on British television. Just imagine that. One of these days, you're watching television with your family and one of those Think adverts come on. And it's like, yes, it's all fun and games till you lose your tracks. Hey, hey! The Django! Oh, I love that film as well. Technically, it's Django. The D is silent. But, I love the film, though. Yeah, one thing you'll know about me. I tend to... Oh, bollocks hell. They have artillery. So the enemy tanks have taken up defensive positions along. That guy has been rammed by his own mates. Can I shoot? No! Can I shoot? Yes! That tank has the actual... Oh god, I've ricocheted off the side. Yes, well done, Mr. KV-1 with his... Ah, shit! Oh, that took it on the tracks as well. Am I a lucky bastard? Oh, no, am I not a lucky bastard? Right, shed with a gun. Oh, thank you, KV-1. Ooh, T-46. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ah, bollocks. No, don't be tempted. Do not be tempted, my friends. We really need that Churchill 1. Unfortunately, until when that Churchill 1 comes along, that'll be when the day goes really bad for us. We have reinforcements, but my gun just doesn't quite cut at the moment. And who's shooting him? Oh, there's their M4. He can be derped. He's ricocheting. Right, the enemy reinforcements are kind of slowly pushing back. Why are we not moving? Why the fuck are we not moving? I demand to know why we're not moving. There we go. Right, enemy T-34. I'm going to have to load some premium because I'm one of the only few people who are supporting him. So, way! I've got to be careful. We are being supported by the AT-2, but we're actually doing kind of okay on the right flank. We just need that Churchill. Hey, he's active. Right, Hetzer! Shit! Ah, yes, watch for Hetzers. They derp you in one shot. Any Hetzer with that larger barrel, always be aware of Hetzers. I know the Hetzer has... Ooh, hello. Well done, Mr. KV-1. You were doing a fantastic job today. Right, there's their Churchill 1. This is going to be interesting, but I can support, says he, who just misses. Yeah, I did damage. That's my part of this game done. Ha ha ha. Ooh, Mr. Su-85B fancies his shot. Holy shit on a cracker. I guess a derp gun can be useful. Yeah! Got a kill. Right, there's their KV-1. He's further into the distance than we expect. Good job, Mr. KV-1 on our team. Fantastic. Right, the enemy are starting to flank us, so we need to be a little bit more aware of it. Right, there's the speed and maneuverability of this thing hopefully coming into effect. Remember, it's not funny until someone gets tracked. Whoa! I was lucky. And also very stupid. Right, let's take cover. Let's take cover. Oh, fuck puddles. Help! Thank you. Only takes us one mistake. And also being shot by your own. Ah! Yes, I'm a brave German. I'm a little brave man, short and stout. There. Oh, hello. He is tracked and gonna die. He's gone. Well done, Mr. KV-1. Jesus Christ, that is a well-deserved Radley Walters medal. Well, Jesus Christ. We didn't get to do as much. Hey, actually, you know what? We did a fair amount. And he got... Holy shit! Well done, Mr. KV-1. Look at that. Kudos to you, my friend. Yes, you used a derp gun, but you're alright in my books. Did 2,000 damage. Jesus Christ, look at that. Radley Walters. Cool-headed. Ranger. Don't even know what that is. Oh, that's cool. Not even seen that before. Steel wall and a top gun. Kudos to you, my friend. You deserve it. But there you go. So, unfortunately, your likelihood of being useful isn't as much as, say, you're not, like, as I said, your gun selection does make you a bit of a limited choice in this. In actual fact, let's go to summary, because what a way to end it, hey. Yeah, so there you go, the Panzer III. A very useful tank in certain situations. Can be useful in a Tier 5 game. I can probably do something in a Tier 6 game, should you be unfortunately positioned in a Tier 6 game. But, like, you know, it's a good tank. I find it to be very useful. You can do flanking action on your opponents. Your hit points doesn't exactly give you much of opportunities to do something crazy, but... you have seen us take a derp shot by a KV-1 into the tracks and somehow survive. So that's something. Also, with your gun, although it's not useful, as you could see, this gun works and performs much better. And I reckon if I went for this gun, I would have had a much harder time having as much fun. So there you go, guys. The Panzer III, the Panzerkampfwagen 3. You know, still a useful tank, still does the job, and even at Tier 5 games, even, God forbid, Tier 6 games, there is something you can do. And also, remember the lesson of the day. Know your tank, know your tactics. And the one thing I should have mentioned a little bit earlier is also know your landscape, but that kind of goes with the territory. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you like this kind of content, feel free to let me know by typing in the comment section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. Question of the day. As we're kind of going through the tactics and knowledgeable aspects, if you guys want to sort of ask me anything about it, like, you know, only ask a certain question on, like, what would be, you know, sort of what would you, if you want to have like a different style of episode, do you want me to go on to another set of tanks? We are going to go, if no questions are asked, we are going to go on to the Panzerkampfwagen 3 to 4. But if you want to see a different style of tank, perhaps, feel free to let me know by typing in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching, guys. This is Crap Hunter, signing out.